welcome to Shadow of Truth. And today is Thursday, September the 29th, 2016. And your hosts are Rory Hall from thedailycoin.org and Dave Kranzler from Investment Research Dynamics. Dave, how's it going today?
Well, I got a lot of things on my plate that are agitating me, so I'll be interested to see on where we go with today's show.
Well, it's usually a twisting, turning road, so let's fire it up and see what happens.
Let's dive in.
Just Ray Dalio. I mean, I think that's fairly important. I mean, regardless of the performance of his hedge fund the past couple of years or whatever, he's still a well-respected voice in the community, and the timelines that he's laid out are pretty significant. I mean, they seem to be of importance. You know, I mean, he's talking about if nothing changes from what's happening right now with the ECB and the Bank of Japan, that they're going away in the next 8 to 24 months.
Who is?
The ECB and the Bank of Japan.
It might. And the European banking system's melting down. Commerce Bank was on the tape today. They announced they eliminated their dividend and they're cutting 20% of their workforce.
20% of their workforce.
Yeah.
But hey, everything's great. Green shoots as far as the eye can see. The recovery is right on track. We're data dependent.
This is Germany and this is Europe. I mean, the United States is fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're not interconnected at all.
Right. I mean, look, the U.S. is nothing. The only way to put it is, the U.S. headlines about the economy are total nonsense. So, for instance, today, the pending home sales, it went down again, and it was at its lowest level in, I think it was 7 years. And the realtors were warning about low inventory. Well, the low inventory story is total BS. First of all, new home builders are sitting on record levels of inventory. I look at their financials every quarter, and every quarter they take out more debt and build up more inventory. And the prices in the new homes arena are falling pretty quickly, and that tells you supply exceeds demand. And in terms of existing homes on the market inventory, I don't think there's ever an accurate number there. I don't care what, I don't think even MLS is accurate, because I'm telling you, I drive all around Denver all the time, and I go and I specifically drive through different neighborhoods. I take different routes, and what I'm observing is just tons of for sale signs. I mean, even around where I live. I mean, I've lived in this apartment for 2 years now, and there was almost nothing on the market for 2 years. And now it's like every block has houses for sale. And Denver's usually for some reason, it usually leads the curve in terms of economic trends. And we know from the Wolf Richter writings that the San Francisco market is getting over inventoried, prices are falling, volumes dropping. Same thing in Miami, and those were two bubble areas when the big bubble hit. You can draw the line on whenever you think the bubble really started popping back then, but it really started popping in 2005. If you look at home builder stock charts, they peaked in the middle of 2005 and started going lower. But the real damage didn't start hitting until 07 and 08. So. And what I'm seeing around Denver reminds me, it almost looks like it looked in 08 in terms of for sale signs, price reduced signs, for rent signs. And I get anecdotes from readers of mine from all over the country who tell me they're seeing the same things in their areas. And this is all over the country. So I don't know where this idea that there's low inventory out there, it's nonsense.
Well, it's just another lie. I mean, they lie about everything. Name me one thing. I mean, we were talking the other day, Dave, about, they're rigging, comments on a book. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, when we get to that level, it's like, seriously. I mean, we have reached, critical mass as far as rigging of everything. I mean, it's just so far out of control. I mean, I cannot rely or look at numbers without questioning everything about it. I mean, except for the ones that I know that either I've generated or you've generated or somebody that's up close to our circle. Otherwise, they're meaningless. I mean, they don't hold any water at all, and it's ridiculous.
That's right. And here's a perfect correlating data point that will tell us what's going on in terms of home sales activity. And there's a company called Lending Tree, and I'm sure everyone knows about it. They advertise all over TV, okay? And I've featured Lending Tree a few times in my short sellers journal, and I featured it 2 weeks ago at 101, and it traded down to 93, and in this latest market bounce, it's back up to 96. But if you had bought puts on Lending Tree that were near the money 2 weeks ago, you made a lot of money on that call. Well, I poured through their numbers and their financials and the management commentary, and their revenues are derived from people clicking on the internet. And Lending Tree takes them to a bunch of different lenders, blah blah blah. So they get a small fee per click. It's like a WordPress blog,
Yep.
with AdSense, you get a small fee per click. Okay, so the amount of people looking for mortgages, their revenues, in other words, their revenues will vary with the amount of people looking for mortgages. And in the last few years, the number of people looking for auto loans. Well, in the last 12 to 18 months, any growth in their revenue stream has come from auto loans. The mortgage derived revenue has been flat, and it's starting to decline. And that tells you right there's less people that are looking for mortgages, purchase mortgages. And that tells you that if there's less people looking for mortgages, it means there's less people looking to buy homes. And I will say, there are probably some suburban areas where there's low inventory, and there's a reason for that. It's because the people who live in those homes, okay, their next logical step is to move up to a better neighborhood. Well, they can't afford to move up to a better neighborhood. And in some cases, those people are, once you factored in all the costs associated with moving, especially the moving and broker and real estate fees, the real estate transaction fees, those people would be underwater on their house. So there's a whole body of middle class area people that they can't move up. So they can't move up from a $500,000 home into a $900,000 home. They can't afford it. And they're not going to move down. So they're simply not going to put their house on the market. And the only thing that's going to drive them out of their house is when they eventually lose their job and they have to sell, or they get foreclosed on. So if there's anyone in a suburban area that works at Commerce Bank, there's a 20% chance that they're getting laid off. They're probably going to be putting their house on the market in the next 6 to 9 months if they can't find a job.
Yeah. Because what else are you going to do? I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And I don't know. I see the whole thing coming unglued. And the thing is, Dave, it's not just here. It's not just the United States. I mean, we were talking about Commerce Bank in Germany. I mean, look at the Italian banks. They've been in trouble for the past several months now. I mean, and that's to say nothing of the remainder of Europe that's been in trouble for how long? 2 years, 3 years, 10 years? Ever since the inception of the euro?
This country's been in trouble for that long. It's just they've masked it over. They've put Band-Aids on it with printed money.
Yes, and I understand that.
That's the thing. The financial media here is willing to point their finger at Europe and say, look how bad it is there. And then they turn here and they say, look how great it is. Well, it's not any better here. And the manifestation of that is all of the violence that we're seeing crop up in these cities.
Exactly. Because as Gerald Celente says, when you got nothing else to lose, you lose it. And that's exactly what we're seeing.
That's right. That's exactly right. In fact, I saw a news report yesterday, and I don't remember what city it was. Another unarmed black person got shot yesterday.
Yep. you remember we interviewed a gentleman from one of the websites that keeps track of the killer cops, and
Yes, that's right.
that was about 2 years. That was right after we first started doing Shadow of Truth.
Yes, he lives in Reno, and
Yes,
he's studied the whole thing.
and at that time, you weren't seeing these news reports on an ongoing, regular basis in the United States.
You're
As
right.
far as the killer cops, now it's every week. It's every day.
Almost every day. That's
Almost.
right.
I mean, and that tells you that the problem A can't be ignored. B, that the problem is growing exponentially, and it begs the question: why are these people becoming so violent and so enraged over these situations? And the simple answer is they're dead broke. They are broke and they're scared and they don't know what else to do. So you lash out. And then you have these thugs on the other side of the argument that they know they're not going to be prosecuted. So end their life. We'll just kill them outright. Shoot them in the back, shoot them in the front. It doesn't matter. We got to kill their dog first. We got to throw an explosive device in the child's crib to keep everything settled down. And I mean, it's incredible. It is incredible.
Yeah, but hey, Rory, there's always the safe spaces.
Oh yeah.
You can't say anything mean to me. I'm standing in a safe space.
Yeah.
You can't point that gun at me and pull the trigger. I'm in a safe space.
Yeah. Special snowflakes.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, a safe space.
It's ridiculous. I mean,
you know what it is? There's a whole thing going on, and it's we refer to Orwell a lot, or Ayn Rand.
yes.
Well, this is Aldous Huxley. If you read A Brave New World, this is the underpinnings of what he was writing about, and it's basically this concept of getting people to follow orders and to basically turn them into non-thinking zombies. I mean, our educational system has been trying to turn kids into non-thinking zombies for quite some time. But this idea of a safe space or social and political correctness,
Yes.
and the other day I was chatting with someone and I just referenced the fact that, there was an attribute about someone who happened to be black, and they were like, well, that's racist. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
How on earth is that racist? Is what I just said true? Yes. You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was, because it wasn't racist. Peyton Manning would get this red mark on his forehead from a helmet, and then we noticed that the new Denver quarterback had the same red mark on his forehead. I said, the black players, you can't see those marks on their forehead. It's just like you can't see when they're sunburned. Their skin sunburns just like ours does. Yep. Is that racist to say you can't see those helmet marks on their forehead because of the color of their skin? No, I don't think so.
It's just a fact.
I know.
Well, you can't.
Maybe we were in a safe space, and I can't even reference race. We're just all the same. There's no gender difference. There's no racial differences. We're just all the same. Let's keep it safe.
We're all the same. That's the problem. Is that global citizen. I'm not a global citizen. I'm a citizen of the United States, and the United States used to be a place where diversity was celebrated, but it wasn't to the point of, you gotta watch everything you say, you gotta watch everything you do, and Charlton Heston said it best: political correctness is tyranny with manners, and that is a fact right there. And that's all that it is. It's tyranny with manners. And
sounds like we have a title for this episode.
I mean, it's gotten to the point to where everything seems to be coming off the rails. And once again, like you were pointing out, Dave, this is a form of control because it's self-censorship. And that's all that it is. is that I'm not going to say or do or act or any of these things that is what my gut or what my heart is telling me. I'm going to do what the state is telling me is acceptable. I'm going to do what my neighbors tell me is acceptable. You notice how your neighbors or all of these social justice warriors, they're great at managing other people's lives.
Right, exactly.
They are awesome at managing someone else's life, but let's take a look at their life. Let's see what they have going on. Oh, well, you can't do that because I'm in a safe space.
Yeah, well, let's see if the safe space will stop this bullet, you idiot.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Lord. It's just incredible. But I want to come back to this Ray Dalio, and as far as these timelines that he's put out, I think that's right, wrong, indifferent, doesn't really matter. I mean, the fact that someone of his stature has come out and said these two central banks in particular, the ECB and the Bank of Japan, if nothing changes from their policies today, then they will both be dead within 8 to 24 months or 26 months, 8 to 26 months. If they monetize everything, including 20% of all equities, then he believes that they have somewhere between 4 and 5.5 years left. That's if they monetize everything. Damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead, including 20% of all equities. And that is pretty frightening because 8 months is not that far from now. 26 months, not that far from now. Even 4 years, even 5.5 years. Not talking about a lot of time. But I'm not sure if his calculations are taking into consideration the changes that are going into place tomorrow, at the end of business tomorrow, with the yuan coming into the SDR basket of currencies, and before the November 8th presidential election, the new MSDR bond will be on the market. It's already sold out. The first tranche is already sold out to the tune of 2.5 times. There were 2.5 times more bidders than there were bonds to be had. So I'm not sure if he's taking that into consideration, or even if it is a consideration.
Here's the thing. I remember looking at that article, and I looked at all the charts and calculations. I'm like, you know what? You can't apply mathematics or science to and impose some sort of timeline onto what's going on. I mean, it could, for all intents and purposes, it could blow up tomorrow. And at some point, I don't think we have 4 or 5 years unless they're going to have to roll out another big-time money printing program, if for nothing else other than to finance the U.S. government deficit, because the spending deficit's about ready to go parabolic again. I mean, it basically has gone parabolic the whole time. It's just they've used accounting maneuvers to mask it, and they've moved expenses off balance sheet. To know how much the U.S. the spending deficit is, you just got to track how much Treasury debt's outstanding. The Treasury debt's doubled under Obama. And in the year, which was last year, when they said the spending deficit was only $400 billion, well, Treasury debt went up by a little over $1 trillion. So that tells you what the real deficit is. And foreigners are not buying U.S. Treasuries anymore. So, I like the way everyone points at Europe, but, don't ask for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And that's where this country is. And once again today, the parade of Fed governors are out. One of them was saying we need interest rate hikes now. The other one was saying, well, let's wait and see what the data looks like. But if the data keeps getting better, we gotta raise interest rates. It's the same old song and dance every single time. And I'm starting to think that anyone who believes that they're going to raise interest rates in December is absolutely insane. Because the truth is, if they're going to do anything in terms of changing monetary policy, they're going to have to roll out more QE, or this system's going to collapse, and it's not going to take 4 or 5 years.
It might not take 4 or 5 years, and if Trump is elected, you don't think they'll raise rates to blow the system apart?
I honestly don't know. I think too many people are hinging, what the deep state and what the powers that be are going to do if Trump is in there versus if Clinton's in there. If it looks like Trump's going to win, I'm sure they'll do something to make sure they have control over him.
That's my feeling on it as well.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't really matter which guy gets in there.
It'll be an extremely short leash.
Right, exactly.
And one that has a bullet on one end of it.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. It's turning out to be a very violent show.
I know. We better go back into our safe space.
Yes, we better go back to doing our ruck report, our rainbows, unicorns, and cute kittens. Otherwise, YouTube won't allow it to be shared.
Yeah, Google will appreciate that.
Yeah. Yes,
Google's
they will.
a safe space.
Yeah, we'll just call it. That's what we'll title this: Safe Spaces and Ruck Report. Oh my goodness. Well, Dave, what else you got on your mind? You sent me a long list of stuff that you wanted to chat about.
I know we're already too long. We don't have to. We can maybe Monday if it's still relevant, but we always have the next episode to circle back and cover ground that we might have missed.
Well, I guess we'll end it there then. And
yes. Oh, yeah. I want to mention though, viewers should actually go and check out the interview with, what's he go by? V Gorilla?
V, the Guerrilla Economist. Yeah, I just did that yesterday.
Yeah, so it looks like you guys cover a lot of interesting ground, including he thinks Deutsche Bank is ready to collapse.
Yep. We covered the SDR and the implications, as well as he has some very, very interesting information about gold and what is happening with China, the SDR, and all of that. It's really very cool. So please check it out. Thanks, Dave.
Well, I think I'm going to download it to my phone and get on my exercise bike and listen to it.
Give it a good listen. Yeah.
All right.
And, now you had mentioned something about Lending Tree. Are you planning on taking another look at them for your short sellers journal?
Well, I just did a couple weeks ago, so
Okay.
it's going to play out. But the short sellers journal comes out every week, and I always lately just about every idea I've presented has made a fair amount of money for people who have went ahead and shorted the stock or bought put options on it. So another good example is Ralph Lauren. I had that in there in mid-August at 108, and it was actually down as low as 90. I think it got down to 93 or 96 the other day, and it's bounced back up to 99. But you're still if you shorted the stock, you're still up 10%,
10%,
which is better than the S&P. So,
make them work for you. That's the way you do that.
Yeah, I guess my point is, even though they're keeping the S&P and the Dow propped up, there's still a lot of stocks that are kind of melting down behind the scenes because the fundamentals are infecting them. And retail,
fundamentals matter?
I guess they do to some stocks.
If you're not a FANG.
Lazy Boy, there's another one. I called Lazy Boy at 30, and it dropped down to 24 at one point within about a week. So, and that's retail, and that's connected to the housing market activity. Because what do you do when you buy a house? You go out and you buy some furniture. Well, if houses aren't moving, people aren't buying furniture. That's why Lazy Boy's stock took a hit.
But Dave, the economy is doing great. Are you not watching CNBC and MSNBC and?
All I had to do was watch the debate. Hillary told us everything's peachy out there.
Everything's peachy.
I guess if you got a multi-billion-dollar family slush fund, everything is good.
Everything's good. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess that's as good a spot as any to wrap this thing up, and I guess we'll pick it up on Monday.
That sounds good to me. You have a good weekend.
You too, buddy.